So today we're going to harvest some more peppers off of here, and I'm going to show you how to reconstitute mushrooms. So the mushroom tower, the boom room, I'll be making some videos on that, gotten the hang of it, but I don't have any mushrooms ready right now. I had sort of a lag in production, and I want to make mushroom potato cakes because I made them the other day and they were so good. So I have been storing mushrooms when there's too much excess and drying them, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that because something really cool about mushrooms that you may not know that can make them even more healthy for us. So first, so I just went and looked at the towers. The zucchini had taken a time out and it's booming now. The yellow squash I've been struggling with, no yellow squash, so I'm gonna start some more of those. I've got new seeds in. I still wanna move 2 towers indoors. It's just kind of that busy. We're just kind of busy right now, so I haven't had a lot of time to devote to the towers. But that's okay because they're still growing an enormous amount of food while I'm busy doing other things. So that's the beautiful thing about the towers. I need to harvest lettuce for salads tonight, and we'll just kind of see what else is out there. But I want to definitely harvest the peppers and show you guys how to make this recipe because it was so good. And I have a video on this pepper tower, and I'm so happy with this tower. I'm actually considering another tower in the garage just for peppers, and I'm really loving growing things like the corbaci. I don't even know if that's how you say it, but that's how I say it. And these other varieties over bell peppers. The bell peppers are great. They're slow. You have to wait for them. They take a long time. I had a nice harvest. I had a great harvest off that plant, and it's just been about 6 weeks of doing nothing. It just started blooming again. So they just take more time. So you need to have several plants consistently growing to get bell peppers. But I have just discovered cooking with all these other varieties is making things taste so amazing. Just so many different flavors in here. And then I've been adding in a little bit of hot peppers. I don't know what this one's called. It turns orange when it's ripe. I'll see if I can find it and put it up there. But that combination with a little heat and all these different flavors of these other sweet peppers is just up-leveling our food lately. Let me see if I can figure out what this one is. I put some in this recipe the other day, and they were so good. So this is my tower gardening journal, and I just wrote about these peppers so I would be able to recognize them. It's supposed to be crunchy, sweet, and tangy. That one's ready. I believe that's this pepper right here. It looks like a carrot. So let's try it. This is how I test the heat of peppers. It's definitely got heat. A lot of it. Ooh, that's got a good flavor though. But that's hot. So I'm only going to want one of these in my recipe. Unless I de-seed them. If you de-seed a pepper, it's pretty mild. Pepper juice. There's a cayenne, a Charleston, looks like a banana. Manganji. This one. This is so tasty. I put this in this recipe the other day, and it's a sweet pepper. I don't even know I'm not even sure if it has any heat. Let's see if we can find some more of these. Okay, I don't have any more of those. This tower actually had a pump problem and I didn't catch it, and that particular plant really struggled. The rest were fine, but that particular variety really had a hard time, so I'm nurturing it back. But I'm gonna start some more of those seeds today too. I'm starting a few things today. Lettuce, I'm always starting lettuce, greens, and I think I'm gonna start more of those because they were so good. They're kind of like the corbaci, just the flavor is incredible. So I think we have, no, maybe not. Let's see what else we can find. I have a sweet jalapeno. All right, I got some basil. We're gonna get more basil outside. I grabbed some more corbaci. We're gonna go see what's growing outside. There's not a whole lot of sweet peppers on here, and the jalapenos, I wanna use them for something else. But this will actually do okay. Okay, until this evening, I'm not gonna harvest any greens. It's not super warm today, but it's super sunny, and it's best to harvest your greens when it's not sunny, and they'll be crispier and have more water content. So I'm gonna wait until the sun goes down. We'll harvest those right before dinner. Okay, we have more green beans we can harvest. We can harvest tomatoes. We can harvest chamomile. I'm gonna do all that later. Right now, let's have a lot of cabbage that needs to be harvested. Whew. All right, right now I'm going to take this in and make a basil orzo pasta and then make these mushrooms. So let's go do that. I'll show you how to do that. And then at the end of the day, I'm gonna come back out, harvest some greens, and whatever else is ready. And this is how we live with towers, homesteading with towers. Just doing the next thing that needs to be done. What is the most urgent that needs to be harvested? The basil is starting to flower a little bit, so that's a great one. I want the mushrooms. Those are kind of I want the potato cakes because they were just so good. Cabbage, I'm probably gonna need to make a cabbage salad tonight because there is some cabbage that needs to be harvested. All right, we have some more cucumber ready. But I already have a lot in the house, so I'm gonna make a cucumber salad too. I also have a lot of tomatoes, so we'll do that. And then I was hoping to find a couple more peppers, but I didn't. So a second pepper tower in the garage may be the way to go. All right, let's go in. All right, so first up, I'm gonna talk about this in a little bit. This is really good. We have our tomatoes. Cucumbers are in the fridge. We'll do that later. I'm gonna make this pasta later. Right now, all we need to do is reconstitute our mushrooms. Those can go back where they go. All right, and you can do this with just room temperature water. And I am going to dig out the oyster mushrooms. I have found oyster mushrooms to be the best. Like, you can use them like you would onions. They just kind of go with everything. They don't really change the flavor of the recipes very much. So I've got quite a few oysters in here. I also have some lion's mane. That is a different texture, a little bit more seafood-ish. So I don't know if I'm going to use those. Like, that's some lion's mane. These are a blue oyster. I really like the golden oyster as a base. I just feel like it adds a meatiness, but really can't even taste it at all. It's like onion. It's that thing in the recipe that makes everything better. We're getting a little lion's mane in there. We're just gonna make them all. Because I have 5 potatoes now that I think about it. Let's put the lion's mane in too. We're just gonna use it all. All right, and we're just soaking them, and we're gonna allow them to reconstitute. So just get moist and soft again, and then we will chop them up and I'll show you how to prepare them. Getting soft. Mushrooms reconstitute pretty quickly. All right, guys, so a couple of things. My membership site is officially launched. If you have purchased a tower garden from me in the past, look for an email. If for some reason you don't get that, reach out to me. I'll put a link below and make sure you get access to that because it's free to anybody who's purchased a tower garden. Lifetime free access until, that's anybody grandfathered in before August 1st, 2024. After that, it'll be a limited time access for free if you purchase a tower using my link. And we're gonna have weekly Q&As, monthly webinars. You get access to me, so if you have questions or problems come up, I can look at pictures and help you. recipes, all sorts of fun things. And then I'm uploading a new course every single month into the membership site. And that means we'll have a huge database. They're short, descriptive courses covering very specific topics. It's not something I can do well here on YouTube, just the way the algorithm works. They like vlog style videos, and that kind of content gets buried, and then I spend an enormous amount of time directing people to those videos when they're asking me specific questions. So in the membership site, it's very, very clear. Seed starting course, interval planting course, growing tomatoes indoors course. We're gonna have all these different topics. So definitely look for that. If you haven't purchased a tower, grab one quick so you get free access for life, because it's great value. If you are someone else's customer or already purchased a tower garden somewhere else, like Facebook Marketplace, or you have a different hydroponic system. This applies to other systems, not just tower garden. Then the membership is very affordable. I set it at the time of making this video at $7.99 a month, and will overserve for sure with that price. Now it's time to get busy on these recipes. So I'm working on a few things and thought I would just take you along. I like to show you how we turn what we're growing into food, and I kind of base it on my mood, what I know people will eat, and what we have available. So the first thing we're gonna do, we reconstituted our mushrooms, and that just means we soaked them and rehydrated them. I cut up the peppers we have. This is typically a meal I would make when I had a lot of fresh mushrooms I need to harvest and a lot of these peppers. That's kind of how I created this recipe, is I had all these random peppers and these mushrooms that needed to be eaten, but it was so good that I want it again. So we're not gonna have as many peppers right now because I don't have a ton ready, and we have to use our preserved mushrooms for this. But I say that all to say that typically I'm looking at what we have available and starting there. Like there's cabbage and things that need to be eaten, but I'm just craving this, and I know that my husband will enjoy it when he gets back in town tonight. So I chopped basil. I found basil to be really good in this recipe too, and to kind of fill the green since we don't have a lot of green with the peppers. I've got 1 or 2 hot peppers in there, de-seeded. I like really hot food, but not everyone in my family does. And then we're gonna chop all these mushrooms up super small, and I'm just gonna put these in my Instapot. I have a 3-quart Instapot, which is a small one. Because we don't cook meat in it, I find the small one to be better, and it produces less waste. Like what's in there we can eat in a reasonable amount of time. Put that on saute. Next thing I'm gonna do, you can come in. Oh, we need to add garlic, and I just got garlic from Azure Standard, but I want to get rid of some things in the freezer, and I haven't even changed from the gym, and I don't feel like messing with garlic. I get these at Trader Joe's. I would prefer to make these myself. I don't think this is, I don't know. You never know what could be in them, where the garlic came from. These say non-GMO, but that doesn't mean anything. They're garlic water, sunflower oil, sea salt. So you've got extra stuff in there. So I don't plan on buying these again. I'm gonna make my own as soon as I can get my hands on a bunch of garlic, and I'll be growing my own garlic next year, but I wanna use these up, so we're just gonna use these. I also don't like the plastic, it's just not necessary. Made a bad choice buying those, but I don't wanna waste them at the same time. I am gonna process a little bit more garlic. Now I'm gonna be mushing this recipe once I put the potatoes in, so I'm not even gonna really worry about these garlic. You want to break your garlic up because it helps release whatever that good chemical is that's so good for you. But I'm just gonna break them, like smush them, and they'll get incorporated once we mush it all together. Again, I have a lot of food I want to make today, and I don't want to spend a lot of time doing it. So how do we harvest and go right to the table? Quick recipes that everyone will eat. That's the goal here. Okay, so I got about half of that garlic clove. Plop that in there. Some salt. And let's chop up these mushrooms. We're gonna have a lot of moisture in them. And some of them have, and I rehydrated that pepper. Some of these are stems and you can't cut those. These are stems from the oyster mushrooms. I saved those. I was gonna make powder out of them and I didn't. So we're just gonna take those aside. Anything. This is definitely this is the lion's mane, which is going to be a little tougher. And if this doesn't look appealing, took me a minute to get used to these kind of mushrooms. They are different. Not the taste. The taste is amazing. Way better than grocery store classic like white button caps or portobello. The taste, texture, I find these are way better. Especially the golden oyster for, like I said, replacing or doing anything you would do onion in. I am going to chop these really small because we want them to add a meatiness but not really overpower our potato cakes. But there is a difference in how they look and how they feel, and it's kind of a learning curve, which is why I'm making this video. So if you're interested in mushrooms, I'll have a link below to where I get all of my supplies. I also have a mushroom Facebook group, and I'll put a link to that below if you want to join. Okay, while those cook, I'm just gonna keep moving along. I made orzo pasta. We're gonna add olive oil, just a drizzle. Good quality olive oil. There are actually not enough olives being grown for the amount of olive oil on the market. I use this Bona Fortuna. Not an affiliate, I just really like this brand. I am gonna use a little bit of this, but I'm gonna be careful with it. Just taste-wise, let's see what happens. Lemon juice, I'm being lazy today and I don't want to juice a lemon. Okay, to this I'm gonna add my cucumbers. These are all from the garden. I already diced them. We're going to add all our basil. I'm pretty rustic with food. I just like to keep it simple, keep it to what we have. I don't want to spend a lot of time. I want to take a shower and finish my knitting project. So the goal is to get this done as quick as possible, using the freshest things we can and give it the best flavor. So we got a lot of green going on, and we are going to add the tomatoes and some pine nuts, and that'll give us a nice like Italian. I may even add olives. We'll taste it in a minute and see. That gives us a nice pasta. Uses up all these things we need to use because we have more to harvest out there, and all these tomatoes need to be eaten today. I grow a lot of cherry tomatoes because they grow faster. I have several big tomatoes, but they produce less food. So I consider them a luxury item. They do produce less. We only have so much real estate, and I like to think through what is going to give us the most food that we can use daily, and then designate some room for some novelty things or some treats like larger tomatoes. But the main food comes first. And so if you only have 1 or 2 towers, it might not be worth, you know, you can get a good slicing tomato at the farmer's market in season. It might be worth just buying that and then growing something prolific like these cherry tomatoes and getting a ton of food that will actually replace the grocery store. I also keep all of the ingredients we need in stock, and I'm making a video on that, how we shop, buy in bulk, and how I keep things, because I keep a year's supply of everything we use most of the time, unless I forget. And then I have a long-term food storage, and that way we don't have to go to the grocery store. We can just use what we have, and then thank you. Add ingredients like these Kalamata olives. I have a year's supply of them in the basement based on how many we eat on average. And so I've got, and the orzo pasta, I've bought that by the several pound bags, I think 25-pound bag, and then we just have it. So I can make this kind of food on a whim as the things from the garden are coming in. I have the other ingredients. So I'm going to put these in here with the tomato juices and all. I just think it adds a sweetness. It's looking beautiful. Now we're gonna add, or you can be on film. All right, pine nuts. Okay, so I told you I would share with you some fun tips about mushrooms. So mushrooms are I think the only, maybe not the only, but they are a plant source of vitamin D. You can get vitamin D in animal products, but not so much plants. I don't know of anything else that has vitamin D. So mushrooms are a source for that. Also really high in selenium, which is great to have in your body. And you can increase the vitamin D content just by putting them out in the sun and letting them soak in some sunlight before you eat them. So when I harvest them, I will walk through the sun and just let them have a few minutes outside while I look at the gardens and then eat them that way. And then another trick to really increase the amount is you can sun dry them. So I dried all these mushrooms in the sun. I have this little strainer and I just put them right outside until they dehydrate, and then that increases their vitamin D. So now we're gonna have a very high potency of vitamin D in our potato cakes. All right, we have our olives. Here's what our salad's looking like. I'm gonna taste it. Really good with the sweet, the tomatoes and the basil. Coming off as very caprese salad. I think that's fine. I don't think it needs anything else. A little more lemon. You know what? It might need a little salt. just because cucumbers and tomatoes are really good with salt. This is cucumber and tomato and basil heavy. The pine nuts are just to give it a little crunch, a little natural fat, and I don't know, maybe protein. They're just sweet too. I love pine nuts and orzo. To me, it's a good combination. And then the olives are supposed to give it sweetness or saltiness, so I don't typically add salt when I add ferments or olives, but I didn't put a whole lot in there. I added a little too much salt, so I'm going to dilute it down with a little more lemon juice. That was really, really good and hearty and fresh and lots of flavors, simple ingredients. Look how big this is. It's going to feed a lot of people. We're done. This will get better with time. I like to make this and then eat it like an hour later so all the flavors can marinate together. All right, I'm gonna tidy up while the mushrooms cook. I'll be right back and we'll turn to that base of ingredients into potato cakes. Okay, I went ahead and harvested our salad because I had to go out there anyway. So just an assortment. I like to get reds. Endive does really well in the warmer months. I've got some mizuna, lots of basil. The theme today is basil. And then we're also gonna cook up green beans. I'm just gonna boil them. That's all I do with them. I like them just nothing on them or anything. I may like saute them in a little garlic and olive oil for the children later, but for now I'm gonna cook them by lightly steaming them, and then I can do something later if I want with them. But one trick, and I have a bunch of them, so I have a really large harvest, and one trick when it gets warmer, so green beans don't like to be in super high temperatures, so you need to kind of be under 90 for most varieties. A few days over is fine, but consistently in the mid to upper 90s, you're not going to be able to have a lot of luck with green beans. And we've had some really hot days. So one thing is just when your plants are stressed, any kind of plant, harvest your food frequently because it keeps the plant going and wanting to produce more food. If you allow them to get too big, all the energy is going into making those reproductive seeds, and it takes all the energy out of the plant, and the plant's already stressed, so it's like trying to do that. It's trying to put all its energy into that reproduction phase. So I harvest our green beans pretty young. I think this is a jade, I don't remember. And it's like I harvest them like a string bean. And when you do this, you could eat them raw because they're super tender. And as long as you eat them fresh the day of, they taste so sweet. So I'm just picking out a few really tender ones, and I'm going to chop those up with our salad. And we will have raw green beans. And then the ones that are a little meatier already, I'm going to cook. And again, I'm just going to boil these. Actually, these were in the fridge and they got frozen. I don't know what it is about this particular, those are Vidalia onions I used. It is so sweet. I don't know if it's the mushrooms that are making it sweet or if it's the onion, a little bit of the peppers maybe. There's a little heat. The only thing I was worried about is putting those reconstituted lion's mane. I was concerned it would make it kind of chewy. That's almost how you would make like a vegan clam chowder, is with those bits. And I tasted some and it is a little bit. So I'm going to keep cooking it down, and I may take an immersion blender to this once I get the potatoes in, just to make sure the consistency, because we're going for a potato cake, which is very soft. We don't want a lot of chewy inside of our potato cake. So I'm going to cook it down a little bit longer and we'll see. All right, cooking some rice. As soon as our water is ready, we'll do our green beans. Salad prep. I'm gonna put these in my salad spinner. You don't always have to do that, but my endive was way, like the plants are huge. Easily 3 times the size of my head. So there's some dead leaves in there, so I just want to rinse them just because they're a little bit older. If you harvest young, then you don't have to do that. The Mizuna, I'm just going to take the green parts. You can actually throw the stems in our I'll throw these over here. This is endive, and like there's just little bits of brown pieces because some of the leaves are older. These leaves aren't older, but some of the ones it was next to. And I'm just gonna rough chop this with my hands so that it is ready to eat. Endive is so great. I love it. It doesn't grow as big indoors if you have to grow indoors, but it does so amazing outside. And like I said, we've got tons of basil leaves. I like to get the small ones for salads with this dressing. So the dressing, the basil with this dressing I'm going to use is incredible. So the dressing is to take balsamic vinegar, and I prefer a really good aged one. I buy the aged one from Bona Fortuna. And then you add equal parts tahini. And you can add olive oil or you can leave it out. I've been leaving it out lately and can't really tell the difference. And then I thin it with some water if I want it to be pourable, or sometimes I make it like a caramel. And if I'm adding other things to this, I'll make it more caramelly, like if I'm going to do a vegan cheese, so I'm only using a little bit. And then if I want to just like dress a salad, which we're going to do with this one, I will put, there's watercress. I try to get lots of different greens just for health purposes. I will put a little bit, give it a little bit of water so that it's pourable, but we still want it nice and thick. And it is so good. It is really incredible. And with the basil, just that aged balsamic and basil, that combination is really nice. All right, we have some baby Salanova butter lettuce. There's our gorgeous salad. And let's go wash this. Cook our green beans. A random pea. So I don't have to do this with these, but I want to show you this step. If you harvest, it's 3 o'clock. If I harvested on a sunny day at 3, this lettuce would wilt instantly when I got it in the house. We're having a very cloudy, cool day today, so I don't really have to soak these. They're crispy anyway. I'm just doing it to show you guys. But you sit them like this, and I just shuffle the water around, and I let them soak if I need to rehydrate them for about 10 minutes or so. Not too long. Basil leaves do not like to be soaked very long. The lettuce can go a lot longer, the endive, but the basil doesn't like to be oversaturated. It'll turn black. So just a few minutes, and all I'm doing is right now pulling out any just bits and pieces of lettuce that float to the top that aren't perfect. There's barely anything in here. 2 little pieces of not so good stuff. Well, there's 3. So just like these little brown tips. And that's it. I'm going to spin this out. I'm just cooking my green beans in like 2 inches of water. No need to waste any water. They don't need a deep bath. I'm just really kind of softening them for a minute. I just learned something cool. And in my monthly magazine, I'm going to put this kind of stuff. If I didn't mention it, I have a monthly magazine coming out instead of a weekly email, just because I feel like emails are overrated. I don't ever read them. And I thought a monthly magazine would be fun, kind of cover all the topics and something you can download and read in your free time. Now, I don't like that these are plastic, so I'm going to try and find a better source. But I was listening to something about how kiwi can repair your DNA. And so one a day can make a huge impact on your health. Just like a cup of blueberries can make a huge impact on your brain health. So I am going to eat a kiwi and a cup of blueberries every day. I'm growing kiwi, and if they ever bloom, it can take up to 7 years. But if they bloom, or the day they bloom, I have hopes they will. That's going to be an incredible day. So we're just getting all the water out. I hate that this is plastic. If you guys have a source for a good salad spinner that's not plastic, please let me know in the comments. I haven't been able to find one. I've seen some metal ones, but they just, nothing that looked like it would work to me very well. All right, so our last step is our potatoes. And I did this with a hand masher the other day when I made these, but I think I'm gonna blend them with the immersion blender just because of those mushrooms. These are a white potato. I don't even know what kind. From Trader Joe's, just an organic potato, but it's soft, very creamy. You want like a soft, creamy potato. I would typically leave the skins on. The skins are really healthy for you. I want to eat them. I just chopped them up a little bit. These are a little bit, they can be cooked a little bit longer too. So I'm just gonna put them in there, heat them up with a little water, make sure everything's soft. Then I'm gonna blend it and then we'll turn them into cakes. All right, I can already tell I like the consistency, the texture of the fresh mushroom ones I did, but the flavor, I was curious if I could get the same flavor because they have this weird, incredible sweetness about them. And again, I don't know if it's the mushrooms, the onions, or just the whole combination, but they're so good. So I'm getting the flavor right, but the texture is definitely off. So I am gonna immersion blend those. So we're just gonna put our salad out to dry. I'm just gonna leave this out for about an hour to dry. And then I will put it in the fridge so we can have a nice cold salad. Now we're gonna mix this up. My tahini's pretty dry, so we're down to the end. And I like a raw tahini. Good jars. So it can take a minute to get this to mix. I could stir it a little better. There's little bits, but I'm gonna put the lid on and shake it. Green beans are done. They are so good. The flavor is unbelievable. They don't need butter and all that stuff. So good. All right, we are gonna immersion blend this. I've been trying to burn off some of the water. I have a little bit too much water, and I'm getting to the point where I'm done. It's time. I don't like to be in the kitchen a whole lot. I'll get to a burnout point, but we have a ton of food prep now. We've got the green beans. I cooked some rice. We're gonna have potato cakes, huge salad, and I have the orzo pasta. So everybody can be happy with that. I also have some pickled beans and things too that can be added on the side. So here's what we're looking like. Here's what we're looking like right now. And when I made this with fresh mushrooms, you couldn't see all the mushrooms. They just basically disappeared. So these are gonna be a little too chewy. So we are gonna take this and blend it and just incorporate it all together. Same flavor as the other day. So sweet and good. The heat is perfect. I de-seeded, I think, 3 hot peppers. And that's a few seeds in there. It's the right amount of heat. It's like you can tell there's a little kick. Just enough to be medicinal, but not enough to scare away people who don't like heat. All right. Oh, you know what? I need to put them in the basket. They browned up. You can hold them. Still a little softer. I'm gonna keep cooking them for a minute than originally when I did them, but no waste. They look amazing. Also, my stove, if you've been following my channel, you know we got a new oven coming in. This is all we have right now, and the part just came, but that's exciting. So the last thing I'm gonna do, we're gonna go harvest some berries. I've decided I want some wild berries with my kiwi for dessert. So let's go outside. It's actually such a lovely day out. It's mild. We're gonna harvest the last of the blueberries. Maybe. All right, I found a few blueberries. They're still ripening. And they're all over. So let's look for some raspberries, black raspberries, wineberries, and blackberries. And something smells really bad out here. So as we get further down the property, they're less ripe because they get less sun over here, but there's a ton. I'm only harvesting what I want to eat tonight. I'm gonna make a big like tart thing this weekend, so I'll do a big harvest later and preserve. These are the wineberries. They're raspberry. They are my favorite. It's so good. And they're all over the property. I'm just kind of doing this one little loop, which is right by our house, which is nice. Put your food where you are, and it's easier to harvest. I try to make it a point to do this every day right now, because this is fleeting food. It's going to go away quickly, comes quickly and it goes quickly, and you can miss the opportunity. And I have years past where you just get busy and don't make it a priority, and then all of a sudden you don't have access to all these beautiful berries. My goal is to come out and get a bowl like this once or twice a day and make it my snack. That's how we snack. They're everywhere. I could easily do this once or twice a day. I don't preserve a lot of them because we just don't like sugary jams. And I will freeze some, but again, freezer space is kind of limited. So it's best to get in as much as I possibly can while they're available. And it gets me outside. This day is incredible. It's cool, it's windy, it's absolutely gorgeous. So here's what I'm eating in this day, plant-based, homegrown food. I hope it inspires you. I know when I started gardening and when I started growing wild foods and foraging, it was unfamiliar, so I missed a lot of opportunity to eat the things I was growing and eat the things that nature was growing for us. So I hope this just helps to make this process seem a little bit more familiar to you and give you some inspiration on how you can turn the things you're growing into recipes you can put on the table. I'm gonna go add that kiwi to this and enjoy this snack and do it all again tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.